Hello, everyone, and happy Tuesday. This is Pat Shears here at CIMcloud. We're going to get started here in just a couple minutes. I know we were slated for 1 o'clock, but we have a couple more people joining, so I'm just going to give it a couple minutes, and we'll get going from there. So stay tuned. Thanks. Hello, everyone. This is Pat from CIMcloud. We have a couple more people still joining, so just wanted to give an update for those who jumped on. We're going to get started here in probably about 2 to 3 minutes, so we'll give a little 5-minute window here, and we'll get started. So happy you joined us today, and we'll get started here in about 3 minutes. So stand by. Thanks. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. So again, this is Pat Shears. I'm with the sales and marketing team over here at CIMcloud. I apologize if I sound a little stuffed up today. I've come down with a little bit of a cold, so we'll try to breeze through this, and hopefully you can understand me. So just some quick housekeeping on this webinar. We are going to record the webinar, and you will have access to it through SWK's site or their YouTube channel as well, where they post their webinars. So we will be sure to send that to you after the presentation. As far as questions, I'm going to try to go through just high level discussing the integrated e-commerce for Sage 100, and better yet, how you can deploy this type of add-on to your Sage 100 system and start seeing ROI in 8 weeks. We will also go through just some of the other features we have. You can see a screenshot here of some CRM applications as well, and I'll go into some detail on the overall CIMcloud product and how we combine both CRM and e-commerce. So yeah, if you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to drop those in the questions box there in your GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar control panel, and we'll be sure to address those at the end. The window we have slated today is for an hour, so between 1 and 2 p.m. Eastern time. Typically, I try to finish up a little sooner, just based on experience and my own experience attending webinars. The 30 minutes to 45-minute window is usually a pretty good window. An hour gets a little long, and I know you guys are busy, so I'm going to try to speed through, not too quickly, but just give you a quick summary of some things, and you can always reach out to your SWK customer account representative, and they'd be happy to link you up with a more personal call so we can do some personalized demos and discovery. So I'll brief through it. We'll try to get to some Q&A here after about the 30-minute mark. I think I can get through the presentation in about 30 minutes. And then I can also give you a quick walkthrough of the CIMcloud demo site that we typically use on sales calls when we have a one-on-one sales discovery call. So it should be good today for you guys to dig in and see some of the advantages of the e-commerce integration into Sage 100 and what we've developed as a company over the past 15, 20 years now almost, and should be good. So we're going to dive right in. If you guys have any issues, again, go ahead and post comments in that question box. If you can't hear me or audio sounds a little wonky, you can post that concern there. And then I'll have Helen, who is on the call from SWK, and also Jack from CIMcloud. He's here to make sure I don't misbehave too bad. So he'll keep an eye on the questions coming through the chat box there. So without further ado, let's jump in and discuss the integrated e-commerce solution for Sage 100 developed by CIMcloud, and how we can try to deploy that or use a deployment schedule that we've developed here to get you some ROI or start seeing some benefit in as little as 8 weeks. So my name again is Pat Shears. I'm part of the sales and marketing team here. Ignore the picture, that probably should be updated. But more importantly here, there's some contact information. Should you ever want to reach out to me directly, my direct line is there, my email, and again, we'll send this out so you'll have access to it. So today's agenda, we're going to go through the CIMcloud vision. So I'm going to paint the landscape, so to speak, of the B2B e-commerce and CRM trends that we're seeing in today's world. We talk with hundreds of customers and business owners on a daily, weekly, monthly cadence, trying to figure out how they're doing business and what we're seeing in the space and what challenges they're facing. So I'm going to paint the picture a little bit there to give you some context of the CIMcloud solution. So then we'll jump into the CIMcloud solution, how it applies to some of those situations that are occurring in the B2B or manufacturing industry. I'll then go through some of the specific product features, and here I'll also give you a synopsis of how you can use a fast track, which is what we call it. It's an internal name, but we call it a fast track deployment schedule. And within that deployment schedule, you are able to better leverage the software to get the application live so your customers can use it with little involvement from your organization and having to do some of the typical website development or just consolidating some of that content on the site to get it live. We'll then go through a Q&A session, and then I'll hit you with some next steps and maybe some food for thought on some of the assessments that we have that we've seen become very successful in trying to help organizations either plan or start the conversation internally of how can they deploy or implement a B2B e-commerce solution. In addition to that, how they can deploy an integrated CRM solution on top of that. So we'll hit that today in today's agenda. So this slide here, this is just a great visual of what we're seeing in the reports coming from Forrester on the overall premise of B2B e-commerce. So obviously the B2C e-commerce, specifically the Amazons of the world, they're kind of the forefront runners of trying to really not change, but give customers a tool that's much more convenient where they can self-service on their own time, which is ultimately taking over a lot of the overall transaction count within just overall product-centric type purchases with end consumers in the market. This is specific to B2B, however. So B2B is lagging just a tad bit from B2C being able to go out there and kind of change the behavior of these buyers. But it's quickly catching up. So Forrester estimates that just over $1 trillion will account for B2B e-commerce by 2020. And so just overall painting the picture of the growth that we're seeing in the B2B e-commerce space and how you could apply that to your business, specifically if you are a product-centric company. This is definitely something, and I'm sure you've already discussed it internally as a leadership team, but definitely something you guys want to continue to have discussions on and really put plans together of how you can implement something. get the best bang for your buck, but also protect your customer base and try to, at the end of the day, grow your customer base as well. So typically what we've seen in the market, again, giving you some context of some experiences we've had talking to a number of companies, is there are a few options within the marketplace to address the B2B e-commerce need or problem, right? So customers are starting to demand this tool set to be able to self-serve, see their information in real time, not have to call a customer service rep, phone, faxing, email orders in. I'm sure you guys see that all day, every day. They are now wanting a tool that mimics what they're doing in their personal lives, i.e. their Amazon accounts, right? I use it more than I probably should, but it's very convenient, which is one of the reasons I use it as much as I do, but also it's just very effective in giving me the information I want when I want it, and not having to do business on the account of business hours for the provider that I'm looking to do business with. So these are the 4 buckets that we typically see B2B manufacturing distribution style companies explore when they're trying to bridge the gap across that chasm of allowing their customers to self-serve and have a 24/7 access customer portal to view their information. So some companies do nothing. There's organizations out there that are smaller B2B style organizations, more of your mom and pop style companies, very successful at what they do, but they don't see a need right now to change their business model because they're happy with what they're doing currently. And for some companies that works, but if you truly want to grow and scale and start to generate more revenue and increase your profit, which is an ultimate goal of most companies and most businesses, there is something that you need to try to accomplish as far as giving customers the right or the option to self-serve and view their information anywhere, anytime, and on any device. The next option we have, or we typically bucketize, so to speak, is the divide and conquer. However, we've changed that name to the divide and cluster. And this is the most popular path that most companies, when we're doing discovery and talking to them about their past projects of trying to implement B2B e-commerce or trying to implement CRM solutions for their sales reps, this is by far the most popular. And we have really kind of coined the phrase, or not coined, but changed the name from divide and conquer to divide and cluster. And the reason we've mentioned that is most customers or companies, organizations that we talk to that go down this path, what they end up doing and don't realize, which is common and very understandable, they go out and find a generic B2C e-commerce platform. So as an example, you have the Shopifys of the world, you have the WooCommerce WordPress sites, the BigCommerce, Magento sites. All those platforms are very, very good platforms, right? They're in business for a reason. They're taking over a lot of the e-commerce space for a reason. However, those were designed and constructed, and the product team built those in a way that was solving problems for a retail type transaction, with no thought of really what was going on from how a B2B organization conducts business. So that's the biggest difference there. So these organizations will go out, they will buy this nice shiny sports car, which is the Shopifys, the Magentos of the world. And then what they realize is, hey, I have a Sage 100 ERP system running in the background. I need that to communicate in real time to my e-commerce site, because that's where I have my pricing, that's where I have the products, that's where I fulfill the orders. And having to manually manage data in 2 different areas can be very burdensome and time consuming and costly at the end of the day. So they end up trying to find someone that can say, hey, I need to integrate data back and forth. And then you have these custom integrators that go out and try to do some development on building custom integrations, and it's just not scalable. We see it time and time again. So that's very common from the B2C e-commerce side of trying to take that sports car and have a chop shop mechanic go in and try to convert that to a dump truck, because really what you're looking for is a dump truck, right? So we at CIMcloud, we manufacture dump trucks, and that's all we do all day long. As an analogy, we obviously don't manufacture dump trucks, but the premise here is we built an application with Sage 100 and ERPs alike at the forefront of our product development. Being able to communicate accurately, quickly, we can scale through different versions of ERPs and easily update the information. That is how we developed our e-commerce B2B application. Same goes for CRM. We have companies that go out there and try to deploy the fancy, Salesforces of the world, or the sugar CRMs, or any type of kind of standalone CRM. While those are great applications, again, you're not giving your reps the true power or the true data needed to 100% and sufficiently service their customers, because they don't have that data, right? So you want to give them remote access to the Sage transaction data, because at the end of the day, without that information, it becomes very difficult for them to have a very meaningful conversation on what that customer has been buying, what their pricing is, how do we place a new order. It's very, very clunky in that workflow, and we see that time and time again, which I'll go through some more information on that. So kind of the long way around that. I like to spend a lot of time on the divide and cluster because we see it quite a bit. But that is the synopsis of what we see with organizations that are within this Sage 100 kind of mid-market distribution, manufacturing, wholesale type arena. They try to go down that path and end up burning a lot of time and a lot of cash to try to get something that's customized to work for their business. So that's what we want to try to solve with our application. The third bucket here, which is the most disruptive, but is something that we're seeing more and more of in today's world, is looking at all-in-one ERP solutions that also give the opportunity to close the gap right out of the box for e-commerce and CRM. So just some examples, you got the Acumaticas of the world and the NetSuites of the world. Those are the true kind of newer cloud-based ERP systems that are really designed to give access to some top-level solutions within that e-commerce and CRM space that I'm most familiar with from what I've seen. However, what we've realized is there's a lot of benefit and gain to be had when you're running your existing Sage 100 system or your Sage ERP. There's really, it's kind of shocking to us that most customers, while I get it because there's not many solutions out there, but it's shocking that you want to rip out a perfectly good beating heart that you've already trained your internal staff, you've invested, hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes into your ERP system to make sure that you're working efficiently as an organization. It's shocking to me how often they'll look down that path of ripping that out and trying to deploy a brand new ERP system just to bridge the gap of the e-commerce and CRM space. So that is an option that we see quite a bit. However, we talk through and kind of give the customer some options to future-proof their existing Sage 100 that is working exactly the way they need it to now, and it's helping them conduct business. So that is by far the most disruptive, and we typically talk through that. Not always are we able to give enough information or be able to convey the idea of CIMcloud to keep the customer from switching. It's going to happen, but there are some great conversations to be had, I think, to really analyze what you're currently doing with Sage 100 and seeing what you can do to future-proof that and not disrupting your business in the near future. So that's one option or one bucket we see typically out there. The last option, which I'm going to hit next, is the CIMcloud application and how we design that specifically for B2B. So I spent some good time on that slide. A lot of me talking, so hopefully I'll give you some more visuals here as I go through to cater to the visuals of the group, because I'm very much myself a visual learner. So this diagram here, this is going through basically depicting big picture, regardless of CIMcloud, regardless of Sage 100, regardless of WMS systems or anything like that. The idea of organizations purchasing software is to do just this. You want to increase your yield or your efficiencies within an organization while trying to also increase revenue, right? We don't spend money on software applications just to throw money at it. We want to spend money to see ROI. So that's the goal of CIMcloud, and what we'll hit some more within this presentation, of trying to really multiply your human effort within your organization so that you can increase your revenue, but keep your customer-facing payroll dollars to support those customers either flat or growing not quite as quickly as your revenue. So at the end of the day, what that does is increases your net profit, right? So that's the goal for our software, as it is for almost every, or if not every, software application out there. So a good analogy here, you're seeing some visuals here on the right. Our CEO, Brian, likes to use this analogy of digging a ditch. So let's envision that we're trying to dig a ditch that's 5 feet deep, 100 yards wide, and about 10 yards across. What it would take 300 people to do with their hands, in that amount of time, you could have one individual with a backhoe doing the same amount of work, or executing the same amount of work to get it done within the same time frame or sooner. So obviously, just trying to depict the visual of, we want to increase your human effort, make them more efficient, whether it's your sales reps, your customer service reps, your internal management staff, or your customers, being able to do some of the work for you and making them more happy with having convenient access to information and doing business on their terms. So that's the overall premise, again, of trying to paint the context here, laying the foundation of why CIMcloud. So this slide here is going through our target market as an organization, who we target as a customer, and who we solely focus all of our efforts on as an organization day in and day out. So our target customers are North American based. They are typically in the distribution, manufacturing, or retail industry segments. Most of our customers fall within the range of $5 to $300 million in annual revenue. They must use one of the ERP softwares that we do integrate with. So we don't build standalone sites. We're not a website development shop. We solely focus our efforts and also our recruiting on internal employees based on ERP specific requirements or infrastructures. So we definitely want to make sure that we're encapsulating what you guys currently use as your main system of record, the heartbeat of your organization. We want to build applications that can help you expand on that. So that's what we focus on day in and day out. Most of our customers are primarily B2B or have mostly a B2B component in how they're doing business. And then we do have a lot of customers that use our application because we can also handle that. It's a little bit easier, oddly enough, to handle the B2C retail transaction. So we do have solutions for that. Our platform is a SaaS platform, so software as a service. We do have a monthly fee that gives you access to new versions, 24/7 support, and things like that. But the overall application is designed to encompass a couple different categories. So this diagram on the far right, you're going to see some of the categories that we have really started to round out and build into one application. So you don't have to go with that scenario in the previous two slides of trying to divide and cluster. We want to give you one true application to handle CRM, to handle e-commerce, to give you a cloud data hub to communicate Sage data to other third-party applications. We also want to give you a web content management system, product information management system, and some other digital asset management tools that are very much required for the e-commerce type functionality. So all of those categories of software we have developed and baked into the CIMcloud application. So what is CIMcloud? CIM stands for Customer Interaction Management. So I'm going to give you guys another acronym within the software space because there's definitely not enough already. But essentially, we came up with this concept or this software category. And the reason we did so was pretty simple for us. We realized over the past 15, 20 years working with customers that the e-commerce needs of B2B companies and the CRM needs were quickly starting to blend together. Right, they were starting to mold into one as far as how that application should work, what type of data we need in it, and things like that. So it's actually kind of a funny story. About 5 or 6 years ago, we started getting requests from our customers saying, "Hey, CIMcloud," or at that time we were Website Pipeline, same company, we just made a new product. But they would say, "Hey, can you guys build us a login user instead of just for our customers to log in? Since you have this integration into our Sage data, can you build us a login for our sales team?" And we want to have just a sales rep dashboard showing customer orders, showing revenue numbers, how many orders they've done today, this month, or this year, giving some metrics and using the data we already have to build out some pretty sleek dashboards. So we thought that was a great idea. We ended up building it, and quickly that became one of our most popular features or add-ons that we would have in our solution. So fast forward a couple more years after that, starting to really get some traction in the market. We see it's definitely a market fit on filling the gap and some needs there within our customer base. We then started to get more requests of saying, "Hey guys, this is really close to what we need for our CRM. We're using Salesforce, but it's very robust. We don't need all those bells and whistles. We're only using about 10% of it, and we can't even integrate it, or we do have it integrated, but it's very clunky. It pulls once a day or once a week, and it's just hard to use." And so we were at first like, yeah, right, there's no way we're getting in the CRM game because it's highly competitive, and that's a whole different animal to try to tackle. Long story short, we kept hearing that, and we decided, hey, maybe there is a hole in the market. Maybe there is a need for a light CRM application to better empower sales reps, customer service reps that could be built right on top of the existing e-commerce package. And lo and behold, we came up with CIMcloud, the product CIM, to better drive efficiency with customer interactions. So in a nutshell, that's essentially where the CIMcloud product came from. So the CIMcloud product's designed to initially sync into your ERP to give us an initial copy into our cloud database of all the data that we need that's relevant or pertinent to the e-commerce or CRM application. So here on the diagram, you'll see we're pulling up customer account information, ship to, bill to addresses. We're pulling up products. We also do a real-time or have capabilities to do real-time inventory levels to show in stock, out of stock, so you never have to manually update your site. It's always talking to your fulfillment or accounting software, i.e. Sage 100. We pull up shipment tracking information, tax schedules, and codes. The biggest one that really differentiates and is one of the biggest pain points of B2B e-commerce versus B2C is customer-specific pricing. So as an example, if you have a Shopify site and you're trying to sell, I don't know, t-shirts to just anonymous in B2C retail users, well, most of those customers are just paying the same price, right? And you don't care who they are. They're going to place an order. Well, you care, but they're going to place an order, and you're going to fulfill that order, send it to them, and all is good, right? The typical persona type of that versus a B2C user or B2B user is very different. So the B2B customer, you might have negotiated terms. You might have specific products you're selling them or private labeled goods. They may have different quantity price breaks, different terms of payment, net 15, net 30. So it's a very different environment. And what we've done is completely replicated the pricing logic and structure inside of Sage 100 and use that on the site. So no matter how you set up pricing in Sage 100, that is where we're pulling the pricing, and it's always going to be accurate and reflect what's in Sage 100. So now you only have to manage that pricing on products in Sage, and everything is communicated to each individual customer on the website through the application. So that's one of the biggest differentiators for us. The last few bullets here in this diagram: invoice history, sales order history, payments, RMAs, things like that. This is all designed to give a snapshot view or a virtual terminal, so to speak, for your customers to go in and look at their information. So I'm sure a number of you have customer service teams or sales reps that are fielding questions all day long from customers and saying, hey, what's the status of my invoice? Have I paid it? What have I not paid? How much is the invoice? When was it shipped? Things like that. Well, they now have real-time access, either on their smartphone, tablet, big screen TV, doesn't matter. It's all responsive, designed application functionality. But they can go in and view that in real time. So it's syncing up with your data inside of Sage 100 to give them a peek in to their information that's stored inside of Sage. So we see a huge benefit or gain from just customer satisfaction and efficiencies being gained, and customer service reps not having to field those calls near as much. We see that quite frequently with our customers. On the flip side, we're taking information and allowing employees and customers to interact with the CIMcloud application. When they're interacting with that application, they are able to place orders, they're able to save a cart and generate that as a quote and start passing information back and forth and logging that conversation. They're able to make payments on invoices, they're able to submit RMAs or return requests. We have syncing capabilities for all of those. They can pay invoices. We can sync the invoice straight into the cash receipt or the cash receipt straight into that invoice inside of Sage 100 for you. So a lot of things going on of allowing customers and employees to leverage this tool set, but also keep the information flowing from the site to the ERP as well. So that's a big proponent of our application. So all in all, the CIMcloud solution and the advantages that come with that, our main goal is to try to get your employees out of the middle, right, and allowing customers to self-serve. But we also want to keep your employees in the know. So because it's one application and sales reps or customer service reps don't have a separate CRM system, they are able to log into this system and see how customers are interacting with the solution. So we're looking at last time they signed into the portal, what's been paid, what activities have been captured on the site, and the employees have a full report or synopsis of what's going on, so they're in the know and they can be more efficient with driving more top-level interactions with the customer as opposed to handling some of the tedious day-to-day type interactions. So it's one tool for all, which one of the coolest features I think of being able to combine CRM and e-commerce, which means you're combining the users of employees and customers. Because it's in one application, you're allowing for progressive adoption. And what that means is you're going to have a gigantic group of customers and behavior types within your organization. So you have some customers that might be very tech savvy. You have some customers that probably aren't tech savvy at all. And then you have a bunch of customers that fall in the middle somewhere, right? Well, if you're allowing reps to use this system, which you have much more control over your reps' behavior than you do your customers, if they begin to use this system and start sending information through the portal to those customers that maybe at first were a little hesitant to use the e-commerce side of things, now all of a sudden they're seeing the convenience of it, and you're starting to train your customers to self-serve, which at the end of the day makes you more efficient. So you're driving towards optimizing these interactions with your customers and not having to hire additional headcount to service that, right? So that's the main goal and a real big piece of how you generate ROI through the CIMcloud application. So you're training customers, they're starting to adopt it more and more, they start generating quotes, and then all of a sudden these customers are like, hey, John, I don't need you to initiate the quote for me. I already know what I want to order. It's typically the same order or something similar every week or every month. They go in and start placing it on their own. Now the sales rep can focus on trying to upsell or have different products or be more efficient with their communication with the customer. So it becomes a really neat tool to see the progression between individuals who at first are hesitant to adopt the B2B e-commerce platform and how that evolves over time because your reps are helping them do so. So that's one of the biggest benefits that I see personally with our customers as they're going through the implementation. The CIMcloud solution, this is just a quick diagram. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on it, but it goes into detail the different users or the audiences that can be targeted with the CIMcloud application. So you have customer service reps that can use the application. You have managers or sales managers using the information to see what sales reps are doing, what the revenue counts look like for a certain time period, things like that. You have sales support, so if they're calling in for billing information or returns. You also have the AR side of it, so if you have an AR staff, they could log in and just have a profile catered to invoice information and invoice aging and things like that, so forth and so on. You have a huge audience you could target with the application, and the main focus is here in the middle. We're trying to make it more efficient for your organization to interact with your customers, and on the flip side, we're trying to make it more efficient and convenient for your customers to interact with you. So that's the concept of CIMcloud. This is where we're getting into, I think, the more specific topic we had today for you guys instead of just going through what is CIMcloud. How can we develop and deploy the application to get you off the ground running and getting ROI as soon as possible? So this is pretty new from us as an organization, but based on feedback and really trying to crunch data, what we're seeing with customers, the behaviors we're seeing with customers, we've found that there is an opportunity to use the software as much as possible to deploy something without having to wait for human involvement of getting this application live. So let me give you an example of that. Most projects prior to going down this fast track path, they would more often than not, the overwhelming majority would stall with our customers when it came to them having to prep and upload their content for the site. Right, an example of that can be, multiple images, long descriptions of the items, maybe MSDS sheets or associated documents you tie to the product detail page. Anyone who's ever done e-commerce knows it's very time-consuming to polish out and put in images and really make that product detail. It's almost like a marketing tool at that point, right? You want to make it look slick and look very attractive, but it takes a lot of time to do that. So we found over the years that a lot of these projects would stall because we want, the customer to do that on their own so they can be self-sufficient, and we've built the tools for them to do so in the admin side of the application. So after doing some digging, doing some discussion, or doing some communicating with the internal team at CIMcloud, we decided that there's an opportunity to still solve a pain point of allowing customers to self-serve, but using just raw information and data syncing from Sage to get that done, right? So I'll give you an example of that or show you a quick walkthrough of what that fast track product looks like versus a fully baked out and polished B2B e-commerce looking site. So the goal here is to get you live and fast as soon as possible, and then allow your organization to continue working on this new sales channel that you're developing as an organization, the e-commerce space, of putting in rich catalog data. You got advanced modules and features that may encompass like faceted search logic and things like that. We may have some custom development in there. We want to give you an opportunity to start using the application before we have to go down the road of doing all the custom work and the rich catalog data upload information. So hopefully that made sense. I'm going to give you a visual I think will help really describe or show you how that's functioning with our application. All right, so this slide, we're going to go through some quick CIMcloud product features. So I have some screenshots. Typically, screenshots work well as a visual. I don't have to wait for or go into a live application. It just makes it much more streamlined on a webinar. But I may try to, if we have time, jump into the actual demo site for you. So let's walk through a couple different features we have within the base CIMcloud 2018 product. So this screenshot here is, just to give you context, the user, you got E. Alexander at the top. Envision this being one of your customers. So they log into the portal. When they log in, they simply want to get in and get out as soon as possible, and all they need to do is order the 5 products that they typically order each week, right? Just as an example. So when they come into our bulk add to cart page, again, this is navigated through the main B2B portal, which I'll show you here in a second. But when they get to this page, there's different options to quickly add items to a cart because that persona type is much different than a B2C type user, right? They want to come in, enter the SKU, which we have the type ahead feature to pull the SKU and add it as a line item in the cart. We have add multiple SKUs to order, which is here in the middle, which is a neat way for them just to put in the SKU and then comma the quantity, and it will bulk drop all of those line items into the cart as well. And then we have options to do a CSV upload, which some of our customers use heavily, specifically for our customers who have customers that have a large number of line items to order. So that makes it much easier to get those items in a cart and check out. This screen here is going into a little bit of the quoting aspect of our application. And I think this is one of the features that really best tells the story of why we wanted to combine e-commerce and CRM. So what you're seeing here is a quick kind of walkthrough video within the screen of a customer coming in. They're generating or placing items in the cart. We have options to ask for which ship date you would like, but at the bottom here you'll see order actions. And what they're doing, this is actually a sales rep, logged in, but it's pretty similar for either or. It just changes quite a bit, or not quite a bit, but a little bit on how we explain which users in the portal. So it would say return to sales rep if it was a customer, and it says return to user if it's a sales rep. So just to give you context there. But essentially, kind of going back to that, what they're doing is they're generating a cart and using that cart mechanism that's very common in e-commerce as a quoting tool, right? So they're coming in, they're adding items to the cart, they're doing a comment here, but this is actually the rep going in and starting to alter or mark up or override the pricing. So here, obviously, if it was the customer logged in, they would not be able to override pricing because they're the customer, but your reps have the ability based on their user to come in and update information on, the minimum quantity they must order to get this price and things like that. So you're allowing your reps to use this as a quote tool instead of having to save, the multiple PDFs, send it via email, get feedback via email, or call them on the phone. This just makes it much more efficient, less time intensive, but it also gives the managers and the owners of this website application complete visibility in what's going on with these quotes. So having that data and seeing the behavior of your customers and your reps really allows you guys to be more efficient and being strategic on how you guys are conducting business and what plans or priorities you have moving forward. So just a good example of a quote being issued, conversation being posted back, and then either the customer service rep or the sales rep or the customer can actually the order. So you're starting here as a good example, starting to train your customer on, hey, if this price is good for you moving forward and it stays at that price, you can go ahead and place the order on your own. You don't even need to contact me. So just it drives a lot of efficiency there with your sales team. This page here, this is the product history page. So this is a neat feature that we like to highlight because it's very specific to a B2B type user. The goal is we want to make something or build an application that really protects your customer base and makes it super convenient for them to do business with you. So all of a sudden you are becoming that exclusive vendor for the products that you guys sell or the services. In doing so, we're able to leverage, because of the integration, we've built out these product history page views that gives complete visibility to that customer of how they're interacting with you as a customer. So here we're showing total number of times you've ordered this specific product. So we're just looking at a product detail page here. How many times has it been invoiced? What was the most recent invoice this product was applied to? What's the oldest invoice? How much has been invoiced month to date, year to date, invoice last year? So it's just really taking some pretty valuable data that historically reps or customers don't have access to because it's buried in the ERP. We're showing that information to give better insight on behaviors and activities within the site. This next page here, this is where we're getting into more of the fast track looking style deployment and what the product would look like if you wanted to go live with that first phase of the fast track concept. So what we've done is we've essentially created this online order entry tool and removed the need for thumbnail images and long descriptions and trying to use as much of the data, which the name of the product's coming from Sage, the SKU's coming from Sage, all of the order history you're seeing there kind of towards the middle from Sage as well. The pricing is all coming from Sage in real time, and then you just simply update the quantity you want to add to the cart, hit add, and it goes into the cart. You can also add it to a favorites list. So the idea here is to leverage the initial sync in the software because it's software, it's super efficient. We don't have to have human intervention to try to update that information and get it set up properly. We're using that to give you a solution or a tool set for your reps and your customers to use from the get-go, and we can go live with that in about 6 to 8 weeks. So we're basically installing the sync tool, the application gets set up, everything's configured, we do some punch listing and testing, do some order tests and things like that, and then we try to go live or hold your hand with going live with your first group of customers and reps to get some feedback, and it just makes it a much smoother transition into trying to build out future functionality that we can provide to you guys as an organization. So that's a quick look at the the fast track style or what it would look like within that fast track deployment schedule. Here it's showing you a quick diagram. Do a quick time check here. Holy cow, I'm talking a lot. All right, we're at 1:40. So this diagram here, it's going through and showing how we also encompass your Rolodex, because you want to have a main system of record for contacts. That is one of the key components or features of any CRM or just client list management tool, right? So we have options to do that. You'll see here, I'm going to highlight and I'm going to get off this slide. If you look at that first row, Pat Shears, that is a customer username. You see what account he's tied to, which is 1989, which is the account coming from Sage. Your reps can actually log in as a proxy user, that action button there on the right. When they log in, they're viewing the information as if he was the customer, and they can use that while on site with the customer to go through any items in a favorites list, look at past orders, past quotes, all that good stuff. So just some quick information there. This dashboard, this is where we're getting into some of the CRM type tools that have been requested by our customers. So we're giving a central location for your sales reps to generate or document activities. So that's one key component of any CRM, specifically from a management standpoint, of being able to identify the activity levels and productivity of your sales reps. If only we could find some way to make it or make sales reps more likely to post that information, that'd be one thing. I'm still trying to figure that one out. But this is a great tool to be able to monitor and view what activity your sales reps are doing. So you'll see just some examples. Had a great call. You can add attachments. There's different tags you can do. So this is just a screenshot. But you'll notice on the right, it's also giving information on the account. So this is Sage specific information. It's also going to give you order history in real time, so they can pull up order header information, see the details, see the line items, see the tracking status, and all that good stuff. Here is basically an aggregate view of all the interactions to give a 1,000-foot view to the sales rep of what's going on with their customer. So you'll see you have a column there on the right associated with what account. So we can tie multiple users from a customer side to single accounts. We have that functionality. And then here in the first through third columns, it's basically showing you a date stamp, what type of interaction this is, and then a description of that. So you're basically able on the road, without calling customer service up and trying to tap into Sage 100 or remote into Sage 100, I'm able to see live views or statuses of order history, what was placed for how much, what invoice was created, was there a payment, check number 68325 as an example. Again, just giving complete visibility and expanding on the data that you currently have in Sage 100 to allow your customers and employees to be more efficient. So real quick, we have ticketing options as well. So we have support ticket modules within our application, so we can allow you guys to leverage this as a case management tool as well. We're trying to encompass as many different options as we can, but solving the main pains that the typical customers within the mid-market ERP industries face. So we have that. This is just an example of online bill pay and invoice payments, which is pretty neat. So you guys are probably pretty familiar with this. I know I pay most of my just general personal bills from utilities to cable and things like that through my portal. This is the same concept for your organization. We actually even have the ability to sync in the cash receipt to the invoice once it's paid, so we're trying to streamline that as much as possible. I'm not going to get into that quite yet. I'll send you guys this deck, or I'll have Helen send it to you. There's a customer testimonial video, which you'll see right here. It's just a neat video to kind of look at and get an outside perspective of how they've leveraged the CIMcloud application. So took a little bit longer there than expected, but I don't know if we have any questions. Helen, this is probably a good time to hit it. We got about a 15-minute window, and hopefully I haven't had too many people drop off with my rambling there. You see any questions, Helen? Are we good?
Nope. Looks like you kept everyone on, so good job. But I don't see any questions. If anyone that's on has anything they want to ask, go ahead and ask now. If there's anything that comes up after the end of the webinar, just reach out to your account manager or info@swktech.com, and we can address your questions there.
Awesome.
Okay, so nothing's come in.
Yeah, we'll give it maybe just another minute here. I'll just see real quick if they want to drop something in there. And I appreciate you guys joining us today for sure. And we'll send this out to you as soon as we get this kind of rendered and sent out. I think we're good though. I don't see any coming through. All right, well, thanks for your time, guys. And Helen, I appreciate you organizing this for us. Certainly enjoyed it. Hopefully next time I don't have quite the cold that I'm trying to battle now, but hopefully everything made sense, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Well, that concludes the webinar. Thanks, everyone.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.